So what could be done? I completely agree that it's a broken system. I mean, it's supposed to be rehabilitation and most things supposedly, but it just builds on more trauma.
Yeah.
So what should happen besides, turn it down and really starting from scratch?
Yeah, I'm not confident that we can get to the tear it down and start from scratch in my lifetime. Right. So I have accepted that in the same way I accepted that 15 years ago, we weren't going to make sure that everybody had all their healthcare needs met at the time of service with no cost to them because it should be baked into our shared resources. I've accepted that that wasn't going to happen either. And so I worked really hard on the ACA and Medicaid expansion, even though I don't think that's a great law. It was by far the best that's happened in our lifetime and by far the best we could make happen politically. So I try to be a pragmatist and live in reality in terms of who else is around me and where they are in their journey to understanding our greater community and our greater needs and how to live more equitably, and say, okay, let's really focus on making sure everybody gets an ID when they get out. Let's focus on getting some more justice oriented. And we did pass that, House Bill 497. Now you can get at least an ID, which can really go a long way.
Right.
Because we throw people out and literally at midnight at 3 a.m. with nothing. And you expect them to somehow be successful in the system designed for their failure after you just took any resources they had away, took another notch down out of their shoes and said, good luck to you. Like what? And
they also say, don't go around people you used to be
don't
with.
Don't go around
before.
Nobody you ever knew before.
So what are you supposed to do?
How?
Did you give them a list of new friends? Like what is your plan here? So
I put them in places where they can meet new people, right? But can I ask a question? Pause for a second. Tell me why do you even continue to put people out at those godful hours of the night? Like,
Dana, I promise that because we're assholes. Because we have no intention of doing kindness. We have no. No intention of kindness. That makes sense. Or justice. Like there's absolutely no intention there. So, but I will say this: not all jails do that. So, I never want to be a person that sits here and says jail can be good. It can't be good. Can't be good. It's bad. But like Kenton County doesn't do that. Warren County doesn't do that. Warren County was already giving people IDs. Warren County was already doing some slightly better kind of things. I try to chip away at the edges and be supportive of people that are chipping away at the edges and look for small wins that don't prevent a bigger win down the road. Because I don't ever want to get distracted by a small win that takes any of the political will away. So like an easy example from my work was in smoke free. I got several examples there, but for years there was a push for smoke free schools. Well, most schools already are smoke free. Not all, but most are. And that was actually something that was pushed to prevent there being focus on smoke free indoor workplaces. Now schools are indoor workplaces. So if you pass statewide smoke free indoor workplaces, schools are covered. But wait for it. So are bartenders. And we can't care about them, so. So I did not support smoke-free schools. And that kind of makes me sound like the asshole. You don't care about smoke-free schools? No. First off, most of them are. And their children. There's children in schools. So I support smoke-free indoor workplaces, which would cover schools. And I don't want to lose the political will that we've got out there. Because once something gets passed, it's highly unlikely very soon we're going to pass another thing in the same kind of area.
Right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. You got to win the war, not just a little battle.
And so I will find incremental things I can do, Dana, and I will find incremental things I can support and push in other ways. But I try to always keep in mind and game out, is this an increment that does not help me get to a larger change? And those are hard questions.
Yeah.
I get it wrong. Spoiler. But I try real hard to only support things that try to build more power. The test I ask is, in doing this, will we build more power? So with the IDs, to me, that was easy. If someone has an ID, yes, it still sucks. we locked them up and treated them, we dehumanized them. It's awful. But that person is more able and more, same with restoring voting rights, Yeah. Governor Beshear's order did not go far enough and didn't make it easy enough by a long shot. I have no idea why he was willing to go 70% and just why are we leaving out these other folks? But that gives more power. So I still supported it.
Yeah.
I criticized it, but I supported the heck out of it and talked to everybody I could about it. And also promoted it. It's even though I don't think it's the right policy, I don't think it hurts us getting a better policy because it builds power. So that's my test for.
I like that. I like it a lot.
Is this increment, can I support this incremental change without sort of dishonoring the change we need? And my test for that is political awareness and will it build power?
Gotcha.
So
what?
Go ahead, Dana.
All we have is our community, right? That's all we have. Real people are our power.
All we got.
But we have torn that out of people's minds and experience so much and told them that they do not matter, that it does not matter so many different ways that it's really hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
ahead,
you're right. I was just going to ask, so when you talk about healthcare and building power there, what's going on now that you're advocating for or not advocating for that others can get behind or be against? Because I think that's important, right? So because there's so many things, just like you mentioned the whole thing about AIDS in Louisville and all of that stuff, we don't know. And we don't even know where to get the information if we want to know. So it would be helpful to share that information with us as well.
Yeah, well, I'm going to put a plug in for our newsletter because our newsletter is worth it and good. We have, we do go to kyvoicesforhealth.org and you can sign up for our newsletter. It's free, great value. But, once a week, then you get kind of a 3-minute read of what's going on and one thing you can do. And what I tell people is my Monday mornings, I have an alarm set that says Monday mornings, I make 5 calls, usually Mitch, Rand, my congressperson, and then my state representative and my state legislator. And usually I can do that in less than 5 minutes. And usually I say the same thing, so, but just pick something and say it because then somebody in that staff office will get to know your name and then they will remember you when you call back again. And it's 5 minutes out of my week, but it builds a relationship eventually. But something that's going on right now is getting community health workers reimbursable by Medicaid. So we have community health workers right now. Community health workers are an anti-racist opportunity because they're already very strong in the Black communities in Kentucky because they're that usually older lady who knows the stuff, who knows where to go, who knows what to do. And that information may be spread in a beauty supply store, maybe spread at an after church meal, but it's paying her to do what she's already doing, which then gives her much more power. And finding those leaders and finding those young people who want to be leaders in their community in a way that doesn't require any formal education, right? It just requires being an active community member and knowing about the resources around you. Okay. So that's kind of what a community health worker is. It's a member of the community that already exists, doesn't have to do anything special. There is a state certification, but it's a very simple, it's more about just, I know that these resources exist kind of thing. But Eastern Kentucky has one of the highest rates in the country of community health workers, and it's been able to turn around some really terrible health outcomes. Okay. And so we know it works, and we know it's a cost-effective way to invest in community. So, right, it's pretty simple. So I want to do that, and I don't ever want somebody to work just billing Medicaid, because if you're just billing Medicaid, you're only serving people on Medicaid, and that's not the whole community. But I do want community health workers to be reimbursable, so that can be like a sustaining piece of income.
Hey, I could say I fit that category. Please.
Well, you do.
Right.
Yeah, CJ, you could easily be a community health worker. Absolutely. In fact, you are. It was just a matter of recognizing that identity, and then also, but figuring out how you get paid enough hours a week to do what you're already doing as a community connector.
Because right now it is funded solely by self and other creators. So that added support can go a long way.
Yes.
So these resources.
Yes. And I don't want somebody taking a garbage, not garbage. I don't want somebody taking a job that's not using their talents to the highest of their ability. Like that same person may end up getting a retail job that they're great at. They're so good, but that's not the best use of their time, talent, treasure, So this is just a kind of a tiny thing. But I think could have a big impact and is also a way that we can attack some of the racism, like this. Yeah. I'm like, what can we do that this is a all ships rise, but also does have that specific equitable outcome that we've seen in other places. So funding, making community health workers reimbursable.
Okay.
And I think we're going to do it. The administration has kind of they have promised they'll do it, but they haven't done it yet. But we also have some majority support, aka Republican support in the legislature to do it. So we've got that.
That's great.
Yeah, well, that's what you have to have. So so we've got the right people, hopefully.
So
awesome.
How can people support this effort? Like I said, regardless of when this comes out, how can they be supportive? Because I can just see this. There's several people that come to mind. I'm just like, I appreciate them for the service and their advocacy, and they're literally doing it just from what's inside of them. Mm-hmm. So, not just, I know I said, I could have qualified, which I could, but I just know there's a lot of individuals that are selfless and they do this work with, no support.
Nothing ever was handed, all about respect, never about ego. Wish I could have retired a long time ago and disappeared way beyond the trees. But my homies kept influencing me, said they needed to hear my lyrics, like my flow, cause they felt my spirit. Plus the people needed to hear it. A conversation with conscientious lyrics.